It's another opportunity to look into the world of health and healthy living. Good to have you join us. I am Yomi Otaigbe. It's a topic you never want to think about, let alone discuss, especially if you're pregnant. Sadly, about 10 to 20% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage, half of them before the woman even realizes that she's pregnant. Fortunately, most women who miscarry even more than once can become pregnant again and give birth to a healthy baby. Today on the program, we'll explain what a miscarriage is, what causes it, its signs, and more importantly, how to limit your risks for pregnancy miscarriage. Pregnancy, the 9 months or so for which a woman carries a developing embryo and fetus in her womb, is for most women a time of great happiness and fulfillment. However, during pregnancy, both the woman and her developing child face various health risks. Sometimes a woman's health condition, such as uncontrolled diabetes or problems with the uterus or cervix, might lead to miscarriage. Often, however, the cause of miscarriage is not known. Let's hear more from the medical director of Isolo Estate Clinic, Lagos, Dr. Olatunde Olusumade.
Pregnancy is a process lasting 9 months through which conception is achieved, and for a process of 9 months, a new baby is born. And of course, that ultimately helps the human beings to perpetuate themselves. And it is divided into three-month trimesters. And there are processes that are peculiar to each of the trimesters.
So we have the first trimester, we have the second and the third.
Yes.
Okay, now, sometimes you find that a woman's pregnancy cannot survive more than the first trimester. Why?
There are a lot of reasons where we call what you are describing as miscarriages, what we technically describe as spontaneous abortions.
So that's a medical term for miscarriages.
Spontaneous abortion. There are a lot of causes of these miscarriages, but it is very clear that the commonest cause is actually chromosomal abnormality. It's more than 60% of cases. That is, there are genetic abnormalities. The process of achieving fertilization is actually a delicate balancing process in which the man and the woman will contribute chromosomal materials, which must be lined properly. And if anything goes wrong with that process, it will be impossible for the process of pregnancy to continue beyond the early stage. And that is actually one of the commonest causes of miscarriage.
What are the other factors, risk factors for this?
There is something that increases the chance of genetic mistakes to occur. And I should quickly say that with advancing age, when a woman is approaching 40 and above, the chances of having spontaneous abortions as a result of congenital abnormalities, chromosomal abnormalities, increases. Because when age increases, nature tends to make more mistakes. The other factor you want to talk about are factors that can be divided into congenital and acquired. In the congenital cases, some women actually have a defective uterus. Either the uterus is not properly developed, which we call uterine hypoplasia. That uterus is not enabled to carry a pregnancy more than the first trimester, and you, in the process of investigating abortions, routine abortions, you see that there are some uterus that have septum in between them. We call them bicornate uterus. All those uterus with the abnormalities cannot carry pregnancy for the whole of 9 months. The one that should be of interest to people is an abnormality of the lower parts of the uterus. We call that cervix. And when that cervix is incompetent, it will be impossible for that cervix to support a growing fetus for more than 3 months. It's again one of the commonest causes of recurrent abortion. So many other causes like immunological differences. The one that should interest people, we call it, is now coming up as a common cause of spontaneous abortion. We usually recognize it as a cause of infertility, but some of the sufferers are now achieving pregnancies which they cannot carry to term. We call the situation polycystic ovarian syndrome, or POS. What you see is that unfortunately the women make too much male hormones called testosterone. So when you see them, they are masculine, their voice is baritone, they have what is called ascites, that is, they have beards and things like that. And it's actually as a result of abnormalities of insulin secretion, too much testosterone in the system. The reason why I'm raising is that the treatment is a treatable condition which should be recognized as soon as possible. So many other causes of the other thing that I should quickly mention is that inability to carry a pregnancy past 3 months might actually be a pointer to an underlying disease. People with chronic congestive heart problem or heart failure, people with kidney diseases, people with endocrine abnormalities, diabetes and thyroid abnormalities come to mind. Actually, their inability to carry pregnancies, people with chronic liver disease, in the management of those conditions, you now find that they actually have a metabolic endocrine disease that is actually not allowing them to carry pregnancies to term. Of course, I should quickly run to lifestyle. It is almost, the incidence of spontaneous abortion is higher by more than 50% in women who smoke and attempt to get pregnant. The simple analysis of that is that nicotine in the cigarette will get into the maternal blood, get to the fetal blood, and constriction of the fetal blood, and of course abortion. The other one is alcohol. It is not advisable to attempt to carry pregnancy and be taking alcohol at the same time. Of course, there are a lot of syndromes that admix. If you look at our everyday situation, people, by the time they finish their education, by the time they're on the job market, by the time they eventually get married and start looking for pregnancy, they are very close to 30, if they are not more than 30. That pushes them towards the tendency to have abnormal conception, which eventually will lead to that. Then some of them in early pregnancy, they are working. Some of them has a coexisting uterine fibroid and all these other factors. Some of them will take alcohol. And of course, all these are conditions that will eventually encourage spontaneous termination of pregnancy. And I should quickly say that these miscarriages, we are talking about pregnancies that terminate before that fetus has reached age of viability. Now, there are country differences.
Age of viability will be what age?
There are country differences. What I mean by age of viability is if a pregnancy terminates, in the US, for example, age of viability of pregnancy is set at 20 weeks. What that means is that if you have an abortion, a spontaneous abortion, and the fetus is alive, they have enough technology to nurse that baby at 20 weeks until it is matured. In Britain, it's about 23 weeks. It depends on, but in Nigeria, it's about 28 weeks because the only thing we have is the incubators.
Okay, and I hear that sometimes some women, the cervix opens too wide or in early pregnancy.
The cervix is the lower part of the uterus, and as pregnancy increases, it is going to be the one to bear the brunt of the weight of the pregnancy. If that pregnancy is not competent, the cervix begins to open and pregnancy is lost. It is also thought that, if I should mention it, that previous history of involvement in criminal abortion procedures causing forceful dilatation of the cervix in several occasions can actually make somebody end up with an incompetent cervix. Again, it's a condition that has treatment.
Okay, we'll still talk about the treatment, but let's talk about the signs that a woman may be losing her pregnancy. What are those signs?
The cardinal sign of termination of pregnancy spontaneously is the noticing that blood is beginning to come per vagina after some period of missed period and probably having done some tests to confirm pregnancy, after which you begin to notice bleeding, is the first sign that herald the beginning of process of termination of pregnancy.
You're talking about heavy or light bleeding?
It usually starts, it has a right of starting heavy, but at times it starts light and rapidly becomes heavy